Lutnick was on recently, and he said tariffs would raise $500 billion. He's leading up the Trump transition team. Where does he get that $500 billion from?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where that figure is, but if you look at the China tariffs that we've already had in place, they've already collected hundreds of billions of dollars. And if you put that over the 10-year horizon, which is what everyone's talking about in order to pay for the tax cuts, you could get a figure close to that. And one of the things I'm hearing from friends in Congress is that they are taking very seriously this idea from President Trump about using some of the tariff revenue to help pay for the extension of those tax cuts. And so I really do think you could see those two things coming together next year.
But how much are the tariffs going to cost the United States if it's a tit-for-tat scenario like we had in the prior administration, Trump 1.0, and there was billions of dollars given to farmers because China was no longer accepting their goods?
So look, I think you need to look at these tariffs as part of the holistic economic policy, right? I mean, tariffs are one part of the equation that's going to fit together with tax cuts, with deregulation, with efforts to lower energy. So I think it's dangerous to just say in isolation, this is the impact of a single tariff on the U.S. economy. It's part of a much bigger picture. Now, in terms of your question about retaliation and how all that's going to work, I think it's really going to depend on how other countries respond. And ultimately, the U.S. is going to make the case to other countries that, look, your measures, by and large, your tariff rates, by and large, they're higher than ours. You are doing a lot of things to keep out U.S. products from your markets. The president likes to focus on the EU. And the reality is we have a massive trade deficit with the EU on agricultural products because they don't buy our beef. They don't buy our pork. They don't buy our chicken. And they give lots of excuses for why that's the case. But the question is going to be when President Trump says, OK, if you've got barriers on our products, we're going to put barriers on your products. The question is, how do they respond? And I don't think we can sit here and predict that today. But those are the kinds of questions he's going to try to force.
But Clete, you don't honestly think there's not going to be retaliation? I mean, we already saw retaliation the first time.
I do expect that countries will respond. But ultimately, what I would say to them in return is, look, we have an average tariff rate of 3%. If you go to Europe, it's about 5%. If you go to China, it's higher than that. If you go to India, it's 18%. And so I think the appropriate response to the United States is to say, hey, we're gonna meet you, and we're gonna both try to have equivalent and fair trade measures. And that's what the president's gonna try to achieve.